That just sounds utterly ridiculous. Welcome to another installment of Friday Q&A. I hope you're all doing really well. Thanks for this week's questions. As always, put your questions for next week in the comments section below. If you want to support the channel, there are links to my music and my Patreon in the video description, or you can buy a t-shirt from the Teespring store. You can get something like a Weird Guitar Person t-shirt, because we're all weird guitar people at the end of the day. Before we do the questions, I've got fresh strings on this guitar. This is my PRS Custom 24. It's the first PRS I ever had, and let me tell you, I'm discovering how much I love playing this guitar, and how I play was kind of shaped by just playing this guitar so much. There are so many scratches and bumps and cuts on this thing. It has been so heavily gigged. It was my main gigging guitar for a long time. It's been all around Australia a couple of times. It's been all around Europe as well on the Ragdoll tour we did there. And you know, it's just one of those guitars where you kind of put strings on it, you tune it, it stays in tune, and it works. I'm using the Axe FX3. This is the Mark IV model, and I have a multi-tap delay block giving me some stereo chorus and some stereo delay. So yeah, it's really, really nice and juicy. I'm enjoying it so much, I'm gonna play a bit more and then answer a few questions. It just makes me want to do pinched harmonics and play fast, which is a great thing. All right, let's get straight into this week's questions. Speaking of PRS guitars, there were two questions related to those. The DGT that I'm borrowing, am I tempted to buy a DGT or buy that DGT, and would it potentially become a new #1 or a #2? That's kind of the reason I put strings on this guitar, just to remind me how much I actually enjoy the gear I already have. That DGT's amazing. I would buy one in a heartbeat. But before I go and do that, I'm just kind of spending some time on the wonderful guitars I already have. And I'm vibing with this one pretty much as that one, just in a slightly different way. But the DGTs are phenomenal. That is a phenomenal guitar. You will see some more of it over the next week or two on the channel, guaranteed, because I still pull it out and play it and super dig it. You'll also see this guitar on the channel a little bit more over the next couple of weeks. So there was another question about the PRS 509. I've never tried a 509, but as with anything, well, just about anything PRS, I would be pretty keen to try one of those. If you follow my Facebook page or the community page here on YouTube, you would have seen that Tiger guitar. Yeah, nah. I've seen stuff the carving artist has done that's amazing. His bird carvings are fantastic. Obviously, a PRS private stock is going to be a pretty ridiculous guitar. I have no doubt that guitar would play and sound great, but yeah, let's move right along. Why do I have 3 ADA MP1s in my rack? No reason other than the fact that I like ADA MP1s, and I had the opportunity to buy not one but 2 for a fairly decent price recently, and I took that chance. I am planning on modifying one of them. I think I said this last week. I'll probably try and do the 3-tube mod to one of them just to see what it sounds like, because I used to hang around on the ADA Depot forum quite a lot, and that seemed like the mod you had to do to your ADA. And yeah, I mean, they just kind of look cool. On that note, there was a question also related to ADA about the other ADA products like the MP2, the power amps, the pitch track, that kind of stuff. Friend of the channel, Troy Nababan, has a bunch of that stuff. I think he's got 2 ADA power amps. I think he's got 2 ADA MP1s and MP2 that's not working, and a bunch of other rack ADA stuff. He actually has more ADA stuff than I do. So with our powers combined, we would probably have all the cool stuff. But no hands-on experience with the pitch track in particular. All right, where are we at with the questions right here? Oh, the little button covers. So I've got some button covers, as you can see here, made by the Home Musician. There's actually a link in the video description if you want to save a little bit of money on these particular buttons. They make different sizes for different types of pedals. For example, this one on the Digit is a, what does this say? T2. T2R, it says on the bottom. So that one fits on something like the Poly Digit. I would just email the wonderful human being behind the Home Musician, email Courtney, and basically say, yo, what should I get for this particular pedal? Their support is awesome, so easy to deal with, and I have those buttons on just about everything, and they fit my big dumb feet very nicely. Like I said, there's a link in the video description if you want to follow up on that. So yeah, it's not a one-size-fits-all thing, unfortunately. You do need the right buttons for the right pedal. Satyricon, what do I think, and have I ever seen them? I've got a pretty good story about this because the last Soundwave Festival in Australia was 2014, and buddies of mine, the guys from Chaos Divine, great band. Check them out, by the way, if you're into your prog metal. One of my favorite bands from this country over the last, realistically, 20 or 30 years. They've got some great stuff out there. They were playing there, and I basically lent them a bunch of gear, and I got a backstage pass. So I was teching, and as any tech does, I just made a nuisance of myself. This is where I got to see Gwar kind of get ready for a big show, which was pretty interesting. But anyway, I'll get into the story. Myself and some of the other guys, I think Troy was there as well. We were watching Mastodon from side of stage, and there's this guy like standing next to us, and we're like, oh yeah, cool, this dude's obviously enjoying Mastodon. And then there's also this other guy basically sitting behind Brondale's drum kit, chugging beers, just like having the best time of his life. And we realized that guy behind the drum kit was Phil Anselmo. So after Mastodon set, Bron was just kind of kicking around. So I met him. Phil gave me a big hug as I went up to say like, hi, Mr. Phil. It's really nice to meet you. I like your bands. And he just kind of gave me this bear hug of death, which was pretty funny. I've got a photo with him and Bron. But there was just this other dude we were hanging out with, and he was pretty cool. He was enjoying the bands. Turns out it was the singer from Satyricon, so I just didn't even know. So there's my Satyricon story. They were pretty good that day from memory. I think they might have, I feel like they had like a big pirate ship backdrop or something like that. That might have been another band. But yeah, man, I miss festivals like that. There were so many good bands to see. We kind of took it for granted. There was a lot of bands that I missed that day, so I could go and get an ice cream or something wholesome like that. But yeah, there is my Satyricon story. The Vox Valvetronix. I remember when these were in just about every music store, and if you went into a music store to like try out a guitar, inevitably you plugged into something like a Valvetronix. I never owned one, but a buddy of mine owned one. And I mean, I just tend not to trust my memories of my taste when I was 18 years old. So that might be a funny thing to try and track one down and see what you can do with it. Maybe if you load up the amp models with some impulse responses, they sound good. Who knows? Maybe if you guys would like to see me do a Valvetronix video, and I can find one cheap on Reverb or eBay or locally or something, that might be a fun little exercise. From memory, it was one of those things where they just kind of put a tube in there because it looked cool. I don't know if the tube actually did anything, like a lot of products from that era. I'm sure there's people who have tried to put the little glowing tube on something like an Axe-Fx. That would be interesting, but it wouldn't be doing anything. This is a question from Jim, Solar Guitar Studio. I kind of come from a musical family. I wouldn't say my whole family is like, they're not all players. My dad plays guitar, and obviously growing up in a household where your dad plays guitars and is obsessed with guitars, you just kind of think that everybody plays guitars and everybody's dad does that. But for me, when I was growing up, the last thing I ever wanted to do was play guitar. I think it was basically because that was something my parents did, or my dad did. Nothing against my dad, but when you're like 13 years old and you're trying to be a rebel and skateboard and listen to punk rock, you just tend to do the opposite. But we all see how well that worked out for me. But yeah, that was a great experience, not so much from the perspective that he would sit me down once a week and give me a guitar lesson. He would show me things every now and then, but it was mostly just essentially having someone there who I could ask questions. So he was kind of more like a mentor. And he'd come along every now and then and say, hey, you should listen to this CD. Like he'd give me a Led Zeppelin CD or a Pink Floyd CD or Molly Hatchet or something like that. And I'd listen to it and I got exposed to so much music I wouldn't have otherwise got exposed to. Now we have Spotify and YouTube and that stuff's really easy, but it's more like my dad's record collection and my dad's CD collection was the thing that, looking back, was one of the most important things I think in my development as a musician. And just having that person to go to when, I'd read something in a magazine and I go, hey, what do these numbers mean? And he'd be like, hey, they're intervals. This is what it means. Go away and try this. So that was an absolute privileged experience for me, having somebody like that. And, if you don't have somebody like that, that's why I would highly recommend finding a good teacher, more so as someone who can kind of mentor you through your musical growth. So there's my little piece of music advice. This is a question I've been waiting for. If I had to build a rig with $1,200, let's say 1,200 American dollars, including the guitar, the amp, the pedals, what would I do? Obviously, this into an Axe FX is a lot more than $1,200, but you could get something perfectly fine for that sort of money. What I did was I had a look around Sweetwater's website, because that seems to be where like everyone buys their gear in the US, assuming you want to buy stuff new. And honestly, if I had $1,200 to buy a rig that either I was starting out or I was gigging or I wanted to do a little bit of recording, this is what I would do. I would buy a Boss Katana. I would buy one of the combos, which, $350 to $500 ish, something like that in the States. If you can go the whole hog and get a 2x12, that would be pretty cool. And I'd spend the rest of the money on a guitar and whatever's left over on like a tuner. I wouldn't really bother trying to build a pedal board and using a pedal platform app. Get a Katana. They are the best value thing in their price range. Like, if you can't get an Axe FX or you can't get like a Marshall DSL or something like that, you don't have that much money to spend on a rig, the Katana will do the job in just about any situation. You could definitely gig with it. You could record with it. It's got built-in effects. You can get into the editor and do a bunch of stuff. Just do that and then spend the other $700-800 on a good guitar, because that way, if you've got a good guitar down the track, you can always upgrade your amp or your modeler or something like that, rather than the other way around. Like, if there is going to be that limitation on you if you have a guitar that doesn't really play well, or it doesn't really stay in tune, or it's noisy or just impossible to set up. I would spend the money on a guitar. And looking at like the Sweetwater website and a couple of other online retailers in the States, this isn't sponsored by Sweetwater or anything. This is, like I said, that just seems to be where people get their stuff, as I understand it. The gold standard, if you will. Something like, an American, what do they have? The Fender Player Series, like a Hum single Strat or one of the HSH Strats, like $699, $700. Or you could get a PRS SE, or you could get something like an Epiphone Les Paul, and you could spend somewhere between $600 and $700 on that, and a tuner pedal so that you can actually tune your guitar, spend the rest on strings or something like that. Plenty of pretty good guitars in that like $500 to $700 range now, which is really nice. And if you care about the name on the headstock, you can have Fender on your headstock as well. That would be my advice anyway. But I would love to know some opinions. If anyone's watching this, what would your advice be for like a $1,200 grab and go gigging rig for somebody like that can kind of do everything? I suggested the Katana because it's got effects built in and it sounds pretty good. I could probably get close enough to what I need for most gigs, and a Hum Strat or a PRS SE would really make me feel at home. But let me know what your thoughts are on that particular topic. All right, there are a few more questions here. The 88 MP1 channel, the pedal, I haven't tried that. To me, it just makes more sense to go and like buy an MP1. They're probably cheaper than that. I know they don't fit on your pedal board, but it's kind of, you get an ADA for that one sound. So in that case, a rack unit kind of makes a bit more sense. But yeah, I haven't tried the MP1 channel. If anyone knows anyone at ADA and they want to send me one, hit me up, because I would review that in a heartbeat. My IRs, you can get them for free. I've shot a bunch of my cabinets. I'll have to put a link in the video description. I'm sure I'll forget, and in the first 5 seconds of putting the video up, someone will be like, hey dude, you forgot the link. But yeah, I'll put up my mix IRs on there. And I'm just glad that people are enjoying them, and you know, they make the difference for me, and if they can make the difference for you, awesome. If they don't make the difference, then that's fine. That's why they're out there for free. You know, just try them, see if they work for you, and if they do work for you, that's super awesome. I learned a great term this week as well, thanks to Christian Smidifar on here. You should subscribe to his channel as well if you like the axe effects and you like guitar things. I find his videos super informative. But the video I was talking about, you know, when things go wrong at gigs, he described it as green line and black line behavior. I like that a lot. I'm kind of going to start using that in my everyday life, and I'm sure if he's watching this, he can weigh in with some more thoughts. We're almost at the end of this. I haven't played this guitar enough. That's my happy place. I'm going to play this a whole bunch more after I finish shooting this video and editing it. Where are we at? There's a question here that I just can't make out. There's a question on MIDI automation with the axe effects. I've done videos on that. They're on my channel. I've also talked about airborne in the past as well, but I actually need to grab this. This is what I write all my notes on, whether it's notes for videos or licks, or just kind of anything. I always encourage people to kind of keep a little guitar diary on their desk, you know, because you write a cool lick or you're practicing something, you can write things down and keep track of your progress. I can't even make out what this says. There's just the letter B. That kind of sums it up. If you have questions for next week, I'll just kind of put that over there. If you have questions for next week, please let me know. Leave a comment. Ask me anything you like. If there's any requests for videos you would like to see or stuff you think would be cool on the channel, let me know in the comments. You can find me on Instagram. I'm Leon_Ragdoll. You can check out the music that I make with my band Ragdoll. We're on Instagram as well, Ragdoll_rock. Hey, the screen's gone off. That's the sign. And yeah, just, you know, stay safe, be good to one another, play some guitar over the weekend, and take care of yourselves. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.